I heard something about auras. Is it true that babies learn to communicate by seeing auras first before they're able to
Well, you know,
make
nobody
words?
really can say this for sure, but since I read the womb and I read past lives and that sort of thing, this is just my personal opinion.
Right.
I believe that babies start taking on feelings in the womb and that they give meaning to it, real primal meanings to it, and then they start building on that. And by the time they're 3 or 4 years old, they already have a symbolic language. They already have a somewhat of an understanding of the archetype of mom and the archetype of dad. Yeah, authority, you know. So that's where it starts. That's what I mean. It's a subconscious archive. But what if you make it conscious? What if you take your real intelligence and put it in there and allow yourself to be creatively guided by a higher power in your life? There's so much joy. I mean, many artists that create beautiful paintings, beautiful statuary, they're all being influenced by their sensory system. We have 9 senses, not 6. We have 9. We can hear spirit. We can not only see it, but we can feel it from a different perspective within the heart itself. We can feel the fight or flight when something primal is going on, which we must always trust, of course. But out there in this platform of a spiritual science involving our consciousness, we must trust ourselves, and we must know that we have to bring in what I would say, we have to be grounded. We have to know how to do that. We need to do that. We need to know how to do that on a click of a finger. We have to accept that we are always protected. And I've gone through a lot of training with a lot of different things that have happened in my life that were challenging to teach me. But at this time in my life, I don't have a lot of dark experiences. I have quite the opposite. But I was trained to understand what to do should it show up. That's the beauty of getting into a certain amount of help and assistance with this. I don't suggest you do it on your own, but I do suggest you do it for the sheer joy and adventure of it, and not make it anything dogmatic or wrong, something wrong about this. Well, since it's been around with the indigenous, and it's been around with the Indian cultures all over our country, you want to talk about symbolism? These people know exactly what that medicine is about, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Does spirit speak in the same language? Like, for an example, if you saw an apple over someone's head, and then you saw an apple over someone else's head, do they necessarily mean the same thing, or can they mean something completely different?
I'd have to look at something else to code that. I'd have to say, okay, with this person here, give me something else. You know.
So you're asking spirit for more information on that.
Basically, you've got an understanding of what apple is. It's primal. It goes back to biblical, right? It basically incorporates the image of the womb, of the woman's vagina. It is layered in a sweetness, okay? And it has a beautiful core that protects its seeds. So really, it has a lot of signatures for life in the apple, okay? So when we look at shapes of things like bridge, here's one, a bridge. Many times in spirit, they will show you a bridge. And you go, okay, I want to take an angel with me as I cross this bridge. Say you've never been on a bridge before, okay? Or you create a bridge, you know? It symbolically means that something is coming into your life that's going to bridge where you are right here to bridge you to someplace over here, and that you don't know what that is, but a bridge is being constructed for your highest good. And it's always a positive sign when I see the bridge. Okay?
Getting you to point A to point B.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. I think that what we could do is talk about, we've talked about a lot about these are all symbols and archetypes, words, colors, numbers, sounds. How does sound come into play? Well, if you've ever heard a song that takes you back in time.
Right, yes. Yeah.
All right.
Instant.
And song also holds vibrations and can bring up other kinds of symbols. And if you've ever heard the voice of someone who hits those high, high notes where you chill, 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 then you know that that's another language. And we know in sound therapy it works.
Yes,
okay?
that is absolutely true.
Yeah. So we have the animal archetypes, and then we have feelings. And so the feeling body has all this full range of experience with it. So when it's navigating out there in the sensory system, you want to activate as much of the senses as possible for the navigation. I mean, you wouldn't get on a bicycle for the first time and not have training wheels.
True.
Okay?
True. Yeah.
But then you graduate and you get into 10 speed and 20 speed, and pretty soon, da-da-da, you're out there feeling really safe and really happy. And when you're doing it for someone else, when you're the conduit for someone else, there's nothing more beautiful. Because it gives you such joy to have this adventure with them. You're not separate from them. You're actually, if you get them to engage with you and you're holding each other's hand, there is a moment in time and a connection there where it can be actually life-altering, not only for them, but for me in my experience too. But getting someone to trust on that level has to do with how many layers of sadness and mistrust and abuse and those sort of things all interfere with the sensory system. And that needs to be looked at. And it needs to be handled in a painless fashion if possible. I do believe it can be painless. But then there are times when we have to allow ourselves to feel it, to release it. Okay?
That is true.
Yeah. And that clears what I call the library, because the body is an emotional vehicle, and it has an archive also of everything it ever felt is in there in stories, like its birth, its childhood. A lot of people say, I don't remember my childhood. Well, the body does.
Yeah.
That's why hypnosis comes into play.
You've taught
to help
me that.
them. Yeah.
Everything that's ever happened is somewhere on our body being stored.
Exactly.
Which in itself is an archetype of symbol of what our body's trying to tell us.
Exactly.
Does spirit speak to us in symbols and archetypes the way that would specifically get our attention? Like, would it be different for you than would be for me than for someone else?
We're all so unique.
You know, yeah. So
I've studied a lot of different tools. And I've studied a lot of different religions, and I've studied a lot of different quantum science. And so what I've done is, it's like an accordion. It's like I've turned myself over to spirit, and they have my library. So in my library, they know what they can talk to me in a symbolic language.
Yeah, because I was going to say,
and again, you start, and it never ends. You will continually be building that language into the day that you die, because it's so vast. That's why I say it's open-ended.
Do you ever ask spirit to speak to you in a specific symbol or archetype, or you just open? Oh, you do?
I do. When my guardian angel comes around, I want her to stand right in front of me and make it very obvious that she's in front of me. And sometimes she'll come in and address me in a telepathic sort of way, and then she will wrap me in a blue cloak and it's always about my nervous system, because I'm pretty highly tuned. Loud sounds will upset me.
And what's the purpose of the
goes right through my nervous system. Well, I see it. It becomes a vibration. I see it wrapped around me with love, and I allow it to do its energetic work, and it calms me down, and I can feel a confirmation on my body. A confirmation that actually happens on my body. It's not unique to me. You've had confirmations.
Yes.